Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. We are going to be playing with cereal bag liners, cracker box, cracker liners, all kinds of things come in this kind of a liner. But some of the things I've made is a shaker packet. This has sand in it, little pearl, kind of like a little specimen card that you can write on the back, has sand in it. And this is a really good way to seal something very small and loose like this that sewing it might come out. This for sure will not come out. And then I have a little hidden paper clip with some sand. This side I forgot to put a double layer, so I couldn't put the sand, and I went to stamp it, and of course it just rubbed off, so I ended up using a little sticker, and it looks like this on a page. I think that's cute. And then I made some pockets. I colored the liner with alcohol inks, and then I actually ironed it on to this book page and just sewed around it. I figure it will be a pocket, nice pocket in a book. It has really neat texture. Of course, you know me and my junk mail. I have this back piece of a junk mail envelope. So I cut a circle out and embossed this cereal bag liner, stamped the inside piece and kind of watercolored it so that when it's closed, you can see the pretty flower. And then, of course you can use it as a pocket, or you can, you got writing on the front, the back. Here is where my watercolor bled through a little bit, so I'll end up putting something there. But I thought that was kind of neat. I also think it would be neat to cut more circles and do this, several different places, so that when you put something in your pocket, that's what will show through the embossed part. I think that's kind of neat. And then, of course, another junk mail envelope. I haven't decided how I'm going to do this one. This is one that I tried to make some writing spots, like which craft do you do. So I took out my window, my acetate window, and then of course it didn't work. So I put a piece of this cereal bag liner that I had inked with alcohol inks, and I thought that gave it a really cool look. And I don't know if I'm going to put it over the page, or, because it's got lots of pretty writing on it still. Not really sure what I'm going to do with that, but thought I would go ahead and show it because maybe it will spark an idea of something that you can do with it. Then I fused them to book page. There's a napkin in between. I figure this will be like a pocket on a page. I'll glue it down and it'll be a pocket. And then, of course, I made bags and I embossed them. Not sure. But I embossed them and sewed around them. I left some of them clear because I thought these old pictures looked really neat in them, shining through. I just thought that was kind of cool. And, just different sizes. These are very, very easy. But I think that they are for a moving ephemera, a floating ephemera. They look really cool, and they have really good texture, sound. Of course, I made some pockets with the alcohol inked cereal bags. On this one, it's just a little bit different because before I sewed it up and after I embossed it, I just sewed on a little embellishment there. And then sewed around. This one is another alcohol ink. This one is not sewn. This one is just glued. I did it like a coin envelope. So I glued it like this. Folded up the end like so. And that was all glued. There was no sewing on this one. So I did it a couple different ways just so, you could see alternatives to sewing. You can always glue it. Also, another method I used was fusing the bag. This one I did fuse, but I ended up sewing around it as well because I put this little shaker in the bag. So that one's a little bit different. Some more of the alcohol ink bags. This one's glued. This one, of course, is sewn. And this one is just fused. You can see around the edge, it's just fused to itself. Now, a tip that I learned on this fusing, you want the shiny side to be on the inside. So in other words, your shiny side is going to fuse to whatever you're sticking it to, whether it's book page or scrapbook paper or itself like this. You want the shiny side to be in. And also, I colored the shiny side because it does give it a different texture. The alcohol ink does. And it's not a texture I cared for. So, with it being on the inside, it just, I don't know. I liked it better that way. And then I made some journal spots. I fused it. Can't remember if I fused this one or just embossed this one. Glued it and embossed it. I think I used a glue stick and embossed it and then sewn a piece on the back for a writing spot. And this one is embossed. This one is also another writing spot, but it's not embossed. These are writing spots with a pocket. So the only difference on these, I only sewed around the three sides, obviously. Left it open for adding ephemera. Of course, I had to pick a piece that was too big to put in there. But I think you get the picture. It's a pocket. Same with this, a pocket and a writing spot. This one. And one more. And then this is an envelope of just the cereal bag liner that I alcohol inked, sewed around it. I put a little bit of, I think this is Sorry Silk. And I didn't actually sew this to the bag. I glued it because I already had this ruffle made. So because I didn't sew it to the bag, I kind of got the feeling that this would probably pull off. Even though I used Fabri-Tac, I still feel like it would probably pull off. So I used a brad to hold it on, and then I just put a little charm. This is one of the alcohol inked buttons. And then I just put a little mixed media card inside. And then this is an envelope. This is kind of a fail, and this is where I learned that you really need the shiny side to be towards whatever you're ironing. Because when I started ironing it, I did not have the shiny side out, and it did not stick in some places. It just burned. So I flipped it over, and then it sealed really nicely. But the embossing part, this was vintage, very old dictionary page. The embossing part kind of went through my page, not through the cereal bag, just through my page. So this one's kind of a fail. It's still pretty, makes a neat pocket, and I sewed around this one. But I didn't embellish it because I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. And then this is kind of the bonus to this. I tried fusing some alcohol inked cereal bag to playing cards. On these little cards, it worked wonderful because these cards are pretty much like scrapbook paper. These aren't the shiny, normal playing cards. So that worked great. But on the shiny cards, I didn't put anything. I just laid it down, ironed it, And of course it peeled right off, but it left all of the alcohol ink. And I thought that looked really cool, which led me to, well, then why don't I just alcohol ink my cards, which I did. And I think that's a way easier process than, you know, the coffee filters and the book page and grunging them up that way. It's a lot easier process. I think if I had used just vintage colors, it would look grungier than it does, but I was using, this is what I had outside, so these are the colors that I used. But because it's glossy, and I didn't like that, I showed this in another video. The way to take the gloss off is to just use normal Elmer's glue, PVA glue. I brushed that on and let it dry, and as you can see, this one's not shiny anymore. I only did the front, the back's still shiny. But you can see the difference, I hope, that this is a shiny one. I didn't paint this one, and I did glue this one. So I thought this was a neat trick of aging and distressing cards. I'm sure it's already been done, but just take some alcohol ink, and if it's the slick kind of cards, and then to get rid of the shine, paint over it with Elmer's glue. So there's those. Today, I think I'll show you what I wanted to show you was how to do the shakers like this. If you were putting it in the center of a bag, or same concept with the specimen card. I wanted to show you how to do those. I think everything else is pretty self-explanatory. I simply unfolded my bag and took it outside and alcohol inked whatever colors you want. I mean, anything, any colors will work. I'm not going to be showing you with an alcohol inked one because I'm inside now and I don't want to make myself sick again. So I'm gonna show you how I did this process with just normal clear cereal bags. I think another neat thing would have been, and I didn't think about it till after I filled them, but I think it would have been nice to emboss this before I filled it, you know, give the outside some nice texture, and that might have looked a lot neater being embossed. I don't know. I think it turned out pretty cute, but I don't know. I was just thinking of different things that I could do after the fact. All right, so let's move this all out of the way. And by the way, let me know in the comments if this mat is too off-putting, if it's too bright for your eyes. I was trying to use something where you didn't see all my ink stains on my desk, and I don't know, they might be better than this. I couldn't decide if it was too bright or not, so if it is, please leave me a comment, let me know, and I won't use it again. Okay, so for the shaker cards, or the specimen card, whichever. Before the shaker bag, and the little hidden paper clip, and the specimen card, I'm going to show you a quick way to fuse if you don't want to drag out the iron, but if you have a straightening iron, this is how I did this. I'm gonna let this heat up. It's just an old cheapy straightening iron, nothing special. I'll let that heat up. I'm gonna take, I have a little bit left of the colored, so to show you how I put this in the middle of the bag, I think I'm going to do this on a writing spot. Well, wouldn't be easy to write on something like this, would it? I guess I could make a tiny bag with a little circle. I was just wanting the circle to be a different color, you know, to stand out more. So I was wanting the outside to be colored and this to be, I guess that the bag itself doesn't have to be, it could be like a pocket. So let me maybe just get some scrap paper. Fold that. So we're going to make this into a pocket versus a bag like this. The only difference is I'm going to cut off this one side, but I don't guess I have to. No, I'm going to just leave it like a floating piece of ephemera. Okay, so the first thing I did was I just took a circle that I already had. You could circle punch this. If you have a die cut, you could do that. I didn't want to mess with the die cut machine, so I just took a circle that I already had punched out, laid it on here in the middle, wherever I wanted it, and drew a circle around it, like so. So to cut it, it's a little easier on the bag because it bends easy. I just cut a piece like that, and then work up to the circle, and it's easier to cut a circle out like that, I think. Remember to move your paper, not your scissors. I'm sure everybody already knows this, but I guess as I'm doing it, I'm just kind of telling you what I'm doing. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is ink around before I do anything else while this is open. All right, now what I do, and again, I think I want to, I'm just getting a piece of this clear, and it's got to be big enough to double over, where you can make a little bag. And I don't know if that's big enough. It is. Okay. Make sure once I trim this that it's still going to be big enough. And it is. So I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to emboss this because I'm curious about what that would look like. Also, if you didn't want to fill this up, I mean, you could use the same procedure, but only do one layer and then maybe put a sticker behind. So when there wasn't something in the pocket, you still have the pretty. But I'm going to emboss this and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've embossed my clear pocket here. And I'm going to lay it down. And I have a piece of parchment paper. And I'm going to, you want to make sure and leave this one open. You're just working on the one side right now. So I'm going to sandwich this in here. Like that. And it's going to be a little bit more difficult because it's not right along the edge, but I mean, we can still do it. So we're going to run this just along. You can still see the circle inside, just along the edge of your circle. And you see it's fusing to your paper. I've got to turn it over because I couldn't reach the other side. And leave the top open, or at least one side. Doesn't matter which piece, just leave one side open. And it does not take long for it to fuse. So I'm just running it around really quickly. And I did not get that. So let's do this again. You can kind of see on your parchment paper when it fuses because it kind of gives it that different color. So right now I have 3 sides fused. Actually, it looks like I only have, well, the bag itself is fused together, which is what you're going for. But I didn't get that fused down very good, so I'm going to do this side again. And this is the kind of fiddly part, but I think it looks nice, and I think it's worth it. Now your bag is fused, and you can fill it with sand or whatever you want. I guess I'll use these blue ones again. I only have two colors, blue and the green, so I'm going to pour some of those in there. And all over the mat. All right, now we got some in there. And I'm not wanting to stick over here, so I'm going to put a little glue there. And then I'm going to go ahead and fuse the top. And you have your shaker packet. And I got too low down, and now it's not going to move very good. I really like when I try to do a video and nothing works out. So now it just looks like a big blob of beads right in the middle. Huh. Well, that's not cool, is it? I don't like that at all. Well, that just didn't work out like it was supposed to at all. Good news, it's fused really tight, so I can't take it off. And you're not going to have to worry about catching anything on it when you put things in. But I think you get the understanding of how it works. You just don't want to get on to this part. You want to just barely go around the edge where it can move, because obviously this isn't movable now that I've messed it up. And I'm probably not going to cut this out because, well, it's okay to see the fails, and it is what it is. I guess I'll try to do something different, huh? Let's make one of these, and hopefully it will go smoother. All right, so I have two different papers here. You want one of them to be a little wider. And then you want the one that's going to go over the top to be shorter. So I'm going to trim that down. Coming around the corners. And this would be where you would ink if you wanted to ink around, which I think I will. And then you just want to open this, the one that's going to go over the be on the outside on the top. Open it up. Try to find the center of it and just cut a small slit for your paper clip. Guess I'll go ahead and use this big one since it's the one that's close to me. Make sure it does go up through there. It does. Okay. So now I'm going to put it on the outside of this one, and I'm not going to push it all the way down. We're going to leave it just like that. Now let's go back to work on this one. So I take a hole punch. I can't find my round one, so I'm going to use this flower shape one. And holding them together, because you want it to be the same on both sides, we're going to try to get it pretty centered. Just like that. And I didn't leave enough at the bottom. This tutorial is going down a bad path, isn't it? Okay. All right. I'm just going to keep trying. I just don't think there's enough at the bottom there for me to get it to stick. See how close I got? Bear with me. This is going to work one way or the other. Okay, fast forward. I have another piece of paper. I've inked around it, and I've cut out my slit. I want to say that if you want to add, stickers or stamp words, I would do that before we put it over the top. Do everything before we get to that step. So now I'm going to try to punch out my holes again. All right, let's go up about this far, because we need some bottom there. That's a little better, isn't it? Okay. Now I've got my pocket, my cereal bag liner pocket. So I've got this folded up. I'm going to cut it in half because I need one for each side. Because this is going to go over a page. And when it's on the page, you will only be able to see one side. And I'm going to leave this a little bit longer than it needs to be, just so I can make sure and get a good seal. So, same process. I'm going to sandwich it in the parchment paper. And heat it up around the cutout, trying not to go in where the cutout is. So I'm going to do that on 3 sides. And it worked that time. So we have a little pocket here. And we're going to do the same on this side. Okay, so we have 3 sides fused together on this one as well. I think I got this one lopsided. That's okay, I'll make it work. This is not going according to plan, is it? So I'm going to put a little bit of, I think it's just going to stick with this blue. And I'm going to seal the top. Again, I think I've got too much and it's not going to shake around very good. So this one I'm just going to put a little bit. I'm going to be better. This is going to shake one way or the other. Something going to move. This one's moving. Yay, something's moving. Okay. So at this point, like I said, if you wanted to stamp, it would be easier to do it now. I'm just trimming up the edges on the cereal bag. And I don't think I'm going to stamp anything on this. I might put a sticker on it later, but for time's sake, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. I've already made such a cluster out of this. So now we're going to slip it down over the top of this, top of our paper clip. And this isn't my idea on how to make these hidden paper clips. This was actually, I watched a tutorial, I can't remember who. If I can find that video, because it was a long time ago, I will post it at the bottom, because she is going to make it look a lot better, a lot easier than I am. So I'm going to glue this down. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to run a piece of some kind of, oops. I'm going to pull this back up a little bit. Shut this off. And I'm going to run, I think, some ribbon through here. Or no, here's just some string. That's what I have handy. Wonder what that'll look like. I'll at least show you how this is supposed to work. So before you push your paper clip all the way down, you're going to want to put your ribbon or, muslin, sari set, whatever you're going to use through here. And I usually do thread it through. I don't know if it was ribbon that you would have to, because we're going to push this down and it's probably not going to pull out. But I'm going to go ahead and loop that like that. Now we can push it all the way down. And I probably should have put something a little thicker there. But I like to put a piece of double-sided tape on top of the paper clip, just to help hold it in place. And then I'll put glue at the bottom. Do the same on the other side. And there is your over the page tab with a not so shaken over the page paperclip, I meant, with the shaker pockets. And I know I put too much. This side might work. It's shaking. I don't know if you can hear it, but it is. This side I put too much. But I think you get the gist of how to do it, and maybe it's sparking some ideas. Like I said before in my video, it might actually give you an idea that will work and a good one. Maybe I have enough that I'm showing you at least how to get there. But also I wanted to show you, same thing with your bags. You don't have to sew them or glue them. You can just hold your edges together like this, sandwich it in your parchment paper, and you just barely want to get your edge of your bag, not even maybe an eighth. Now this isn't going to be hot enough probably, but I just run it barely down through there and across the bottom. And again, I turn this off, so it's probably not hot enough to work, but you can fuse it that way. Well, it did work on the side. Well, it worked on the bottom too. So, and I mean, it's tough. It's not going to come apart, but you can fuse them together just like that and have a little pocket floating ephemera for your journals. And then if you don't like this little flat edge, you could always put some lace there or something to decorate that up. And I'm sorry about this fail. I'm just beside myself. And unfortunately, like I said, I'm not going to cut it out because as hard as I try to make a good tutorial and show you wonderful things in the tutorial, this happens. And because I have a grandson that's about to wake up from his nap, I do not have time to redo it, and I apologize that it looks like this. But maybe these other things will give you some good inspiration. And these are so fun, and I just think these are so pretty to do the alcohol inks on them. And, you know, the little extra, these cards. I wouldn't go to all the trouble of ironing on the cereal bag when all you have to do is just do this. This was an accident. I didn't do that, try to get color. I was trying to get it to stick like it did on this little one. And then, you know, envelopes. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I hope if nothing else, like I said, maybe it gave you some ideas of ways for you to use cereal bags. There's some good ideas here. The execution of the ideas was not the best. But look, I did do this at one point. This was me. And this works. It's got a little pearl in there. I've got it hidden right now, but it moves and all kinds of things. This one moves even. But like I stamped this one, and I didn't stamp it till after I got it all together. This one has ribbon at the top. I didn't stamp it till I got it all together, and like I said, I think that would be easier to do before you glue it all down. Anyway, as I was saying, I hope you got some good ideas, things to make. These are cool writing spots. This paper on the back was tore that I sewed on the back, so I used a piece of the aged distress tape that we made in another video. Another writing spot. I really like just the clear bag that's been embossed to put your tags in. I think it looks so neat. Such a neat thing to do. Anyway, I will quit rambling on. I hope that you will make some of these. I know that we could do this, you know, with other things. I just think it's a neat way to use something different and make pretty things for our journals. And I will certainly be using these pockets in journals. I actually thought about, and I didn't do it, and I'm glad I didn't because, I mean, this turned out so bad, but I thought about taking these circles and making another hole in the middle and then doing the cereal bag in between as a shaker or like a round specimen in those. So anyway, thanks again for watching. Happy Easter, everyone. I hope you have a great one. Wherever you are, I hope the weather is beautiful. And again, I hope you will make some of these, and it's lots of fun. It really is. I made it look terrible, but it is fun, and it's a lot easier than I looked. Oh, wait, I want to give you one more tip. When you're sewing these, if you emboss them first, they won't move so much when you're sewing. So if you're going to emboss them, do that first. If you don't have an embosser, when you go to sew, because this is kind of slicky and it moves, I found the best thing to clip them with, I don't know, I don't have any of the quilt pins, but I just used the coated, you know, the plastic coated paper clips, and that held them really still to sew, you know, while you're sewing and remove them. But yes, if you're going to emboss, do that before you sew, and it will help hold that really still. Or another thing, you could run a really thin line of glue to hold it in spot, hold it in place. Of course, you're going to want to let it dry because you don't want that in your needle. But I forgot to tell you that earlier. I hope that helps. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.